Hi guys and welcome to my channel. My name is Tina and my aim is to improve your drawings just like others have done for me when I just started out. This week on my drawing board, a golden retriever puppy, following up my small tutorial from last week where I showed you how to draw golden fur. If you like to watch that one before or afterwards, I'll make sure it pops somewhere on the screen for you guys and leave a link in the description below. Starting on this piece, I blocked in the left ear. I'm trying to work from left to right because you will prevent smudging that way and you want to keep your paper as clean as possible. Although you could always put something underneath your hand, like glassine for example. When you are working with curly or wavy fur, it can be hard to find out where those curls are going. So when I do my base layer, I try and just block in the general direction of the fur. And when I go on top with the pencils, that is when I start to define that shape. And it doesn't have to be exact, but I try to get it as close as possible. I'm using a mix of 4 colors, all different tones within the same color family, with a dark brown being my darkest color here. And of course, as you all know, my favorite phrase, blend everything out. Then it's time to bring out the pencils. I'm going over it with a light pink color. I switch it up a little to a slightly darker one for some parts, just to make the piece a little bit more interesting. I then went over it with a slightly darker tone to help build the fur. Use the dark brown to help define the clumps of hairs and the white for your highlighted areas. To keep the focus on the golden retriever, I skipped the part where I made the background, but like I said before, I'll try and make some videos about that in the future. I personally prefer my pieces, whether they are commissions, something fun or even wildlife, to have a background. I think they just add a little bit more value, although sometimes drawing something on a white background can elevate the elegance of a piece. But as the artist, it's your choice to create how you want it. To achieve a more golden look, I'm going over it with different shades of red. Don't use bright red of course, but more muted colors, like orangey brown or burgundy. Blocking in the top part of the head now, using the same colors that we used for the ear, except for the dark brown, because we don't need to define long wavy hairs. Then I'm filling up that whole area with that light pink color we used before. Make sure to keep following the fur direction. I blend it out very softly to attain a softer look. I then add some creamy yellow strokes, and as I'm putting these in, I'm reassessing whether or not the values of my ears still match. And I think it's a little bit too red in comparison to the rest, so I'm adding some strokes with that color on the ear, and as you can see, it immediately matches better with the rest. As we are defining the fur here, keep switching back between different shades of pink and beige to build up depth. And use dark brown and burgundy for your darker areas while using white for your highlighted areas. At the top of the head we can use our black pencil to make some markings so it looks like the fur isn't in one straight line on top. Because we use a black pencil for this, it matches great with the background and you don't see the markings, so it looks more realistic. Moving over to the right ear, where we'll be doing the same thing as on the left ear. We are just leaving out the cool grey color since we need some warmer colors over there. When I'm doing fur, I really try to look for those hidden colors, for example with golden fur. Instead of using dark brown, go for a dark red for the darker areas as an underlayer. Moving on to the muzzle, blocking in the colors for your underlayer. Underneath the nose I'm using a bluish grey, add a darker color to help create that 3D look that separates the muzzle from the head. Blend everything out and then blend out that greyish tone lastly so it doesn't smudge all over your lighter colors. Decided to put in those eyes first, use a warm dark brown to contour the eye. Make it a little darker by adding grey and black, and then I'm adding those darkest values like the pupil and filling up the iris with brown. We want the white of the eye to show through just a bit more, so I draw a line there with a light color. And to define it some more, I'm using some black there. We also need to create kind of an upper eyelid, so fill that up and put the highlight for the eye on top. Then fill in the hairs around the eye. Then repeat this process for the right eye. Now obviously this is a sped up version and the small details might not always be so clear, but it should at least give you guys a general blueprint. For the final details on the muzzle, I use different tones of ivory to draw those hairs on top. Then switching to a darker tone for the fur right next to the muzzle to help create that depth. After that first layer has been drawn, we can switch to our white pencil to go over on top for the really bright highlights. To To mute it back down a bit so it's not too bright, just go back over it with an ivory color. On the right side, we're going to repeat this process using the same colors as on the left. Just remember to play a lot with the contrast here. Lighten everything with white, but then mute it with some light yellow as well as a light pink color. Don't be afraid to put some black underneath the nose, we already added some white hairs there, so it will even each other out and get a balanced look. Fill up your right side, making sure that crease next to the muzzle really shows up. And since the muzzle of this cute little puppy is really light, go ahead and put on another layer of white fur. In the final layers, I add more details and start to overlap some of the fur on top of each other and letting those pencil strokes show through rather than everything being so blurry. We still need to add in the chin of our little puppy, so we're gonna do that first before starting with the nose. First of all, use black to define the lip. For the chin itself, use warmer colors than on the muzzle, kinda like the ones we used on the ears. For the nose, we'll use black and blue at the top where the highlight is. And I made sure to drag some of the blue out into the black at the bottom. This way, when we fill up the nostrils with black, there's a slight difference in color making them show through. For the first layer, I just saturated everything a little bit by using matching colors. Then put in those dots, light blue at the top and a darker shade below to help me build that texture of the nose. Softly blend that out with your finger, and then add a few more layers, changing your colors from dark to light. Add in some stray hairs at the top to finish this little nose off. On to the final part now. It's also the fastest part since it's out of focus. In the base layer I choose more vivid colors, which can look weird to start with, but when you blend this out and you continue to put more muted colors on top, that base layer will still show through and give it more depth. Also on the left side, this little guy was mostly covered in shade, and since our background is a mix of dark blue, purple and black, it only makes sense that this should be reflected on there. And as you all can tell by now, blend everything out. And then we're going to add some long strokes and blend them out to create that out of focus look. Use blues and greys on the left side and go lighter the more you move into the light. Put some more contrast underneath its head to make it stand out more. Again, use a dark red instead of a brown for the shaded areas. And add some small clumps of fur before going over it with a creamy yellow. Add some highlights on there and make sure to blend everything out a little bit to achieve that very soft look. If you haven't already and you like my content, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I usually upload a video each Friday, but hit that bell notification if you never want to miss out on any of my videos. Go over your drawing one more time to find the areas that need to be a little darker and those that need to be a little bit lighter. And there you have it, one gorgeous looking Golden Retriever puppy. I've listed my materials below, but remember you don't need the exact same colors to build this fur. As long as you use colors in the same tone, you'll be just fine. See you in the next one, have a great week!